Hey there, guys. So I've had a couple people ask about like doing a shop tour. It's always kind of a fun video, so I figured I'd go ahead. So this is my basement. This is most of my metalworking stuff. I also have some in the garage. I'll take you through. A lot of workbenches, a lot of places for stuff. Light metal shear. I think this is like a 5 or 6 inch. It's handy for a lot of things. A lot of times I end up using the bolt cutters, and you just can't really get a precise cut. So I ended up buying this guy, and it's been a pretty good. It's been handy. Small plates. You always got to have a lot of metal stock, especially if you're doing like midnight creations or just offhand things. For me, running to the store is at least 20 minutes one way. So it pays to stock up. And it's just like a mover's dolly down there with a bunch of like, cardboard tubes all stuck together. And, I can roll it around if I have to. But it's good to have a lot of extra stock. Let's see what else. So this little mill, um, that is a little Grizzly. We'll get into the specs. I got a whole video kind of reviewing that guy. It's pretty lightweight. That column back there is actually a lie. It's only the actual meat of the column is only like this much, and you know, it is not a heavy duty machine. It'll stall out on 1/2 inch drill bit, so you got to be careful with it. I have some ideas for upgrades for it. I haven't bothered yet. I ended up buying a bigger one. I don't know. For the money, I wouldn't really buy one of those unless you're space constrained. It was easy to get into the basement at 500 pounds, but I don't know. I use it kind of for secondary operations at this point, not really milling, mostly like hole drilling or hole layout. This is like an old lathe, South Bend. This thing's great. I've had this for 20 some years, and I mean, it's from like the 50s, I think. Actually, I think it's like 40 something. And this machine is just a workhorse. This is my go-to machine, really. I do pretty much everything on it. I love this thing. I do have bigger ones, but this was my first, and it's still the one that I just adore, I suppose. There's the bigger mill that I bought. That thing is about 1,000 pounds. I got that into the basement all by myself, and I'll show you how in a second. Yeah, that thing's a beast. It does a good job. That is the smallest mill that I would personally want if I actually had to be doing milling stuff. And it depends on the size of the work you're doing. But that thing has decent rigidity to it. That's a capable machine. So I've been happy with that. Here's another, South Bend that I picked up. That one is in excellent, like impeccable shape. It's still got, all the frosting on the ways and everything. And it's got the gearbox. This one, I just have an electronic power feed, so it's ultimately variable, but I can't do threading on this one. Not that I really do much threading anyway, but it was nice to have a machine. I actually couldn't pass that one up. That I got for 700 bucks. Full tooling, like just a mountain of tooling. So I couldn't let that one go. Had to pick it up. Built the table for that. Welded it all up. I welded up that table there as well for that one. We got toolboxes and stuff. So we got all of our tooling. All of our chucks and everything. Back here, you've seen this. I have a 10 or 11 part build log on how to build. This is a remote control forklift. It's kind of dark in there, but that's an entire warehouse in my crawl space, and I can fetch things all the way to the far end with an FPV camera, and that works out great. So we got some more storage workbenches. I put everything up on casters so I can roll it around if I have to. I built a lot of my own shelving. Both of those are ones that I built just to, you got to stay organized, and I believe in having kind of like a warehouse with lots of parts. So save yourself all the trips to the store. So you just need to have places to keep everything organized. This little welder is actually pretty amazing. I mean, I think it's like $165 or something. And Amoco power, that thing's just a beast, you know. A tiny little 18-pound stick welder will get you out of a lot of jams. That would be my first welder if I, you know, was looking for one. Let's see, you know, good workbench, lighting, tools, such. More storage. And as we go out, this is kind of how we, pardon the, so this is how we get heavy things down to the basement. And there's a video build log on this as well. You know, this is 2 pieces of C-channel welded together with some spacers and a plate. And we have it all on a beam trolley here. So we can list up to like 700 pounds and, you know, pick it up out here, get it down. Those, I have plinking that goes across, and that way I have a platform as I come in, because, you know, that doesn't actually come outside the door. It ends right at the threshold. So, that way I can kind of roll a cart in, I can pick heavy loads up, I can take the planking out carefully not to be under it, and then bring it in, set it down. So that has allowed me to get all my heavy machinery down into the basement by myself without breaking my back, which is quite critical as you get older. Young and dumb only gets you so far. So then we go into the garage workshop, and I got a couple welders. There's a video on, you know, welder selection. Got a MIG and a TIG. You know, we have our remote control snowblower, which there's 11-part build series on. How to build that. You know, he keeps it safe for me. That was a fun project. We have our miscellaneous woodworking stuff, you know, a good contractor grade table saw. You know, it's not quite cabinet maker, but it's kind of more than contractor grade. It's not portable. But I wanted something with a nice, you know, single hit fence where it stays nice and parallel. Radial arm saw, I just really love that for most things. Like the slide compounds are nice, but they're pretty pricey. Not many people care for these radial arm saws anymore. I still like them. They're great for any mitered cuts and stuff. Very easy to set the angle, and I don't know. I try to use that more than the table saw, just because, you know, nobody enjoys a kickback or moving the table saw out. You know, belt sander, kind of an old, simple planer. Got our grinder up on a pedestal and, you know, mounted down to a secure sandbag base. We have a simple press. We did some modifications on that so that it comes down nice and square and doesn't have a lot of slop. There's a video on that, and we also made, you can't quite see it, but you can see a little bit of a rope and a pulley where there's a hand crank that raises the table all at once, parallel. That was a great addition. In the back, we have a cherry picker, and we've modified that to be electric, hydraulic, off of like a, you know, a van accessible wheelchair lift. There's a video on that. You know, decent size drill press, mostly made for wood, but you can drill, you know, I don't know, a little over 1/2 inch with that before you're straining it. And we've modified that to be infinitely variable speed. There's a 4-part video series on that. You know, compressor, just a tiny one. That's all I need. I've been using that for years. It really does the job for most things. And that has some modifications. You know, you can see it's up on a stand, so it's easier to get to all the stuff. We got a mounting hook welded on for lifting it into the bed of a truck. And then when you go to undo the release, it actually goes into a set of baffles down there so that it's not so loud when you're letting all the air out, because, you know, got to protect your hearing. And I already have some ringing in my ears from working at a bowling alley for too many years. You know, basic bandsaw, another metal cutting bandsaw. This thing I've had that since, like, what is it, 98, I'm gonna guess. I think that's the year on it. I'm not seeing it immediately, but I believe that's it. That thing's been a trooper. Been using that forever. And if you adjust, I had to do some extra stuff adjusting the guides and, you know, building a bit of an extra eccentric, but you didn't get that to cut very square. even on like 3-inch round one steel solid. So again, another stock rack. We just have, a plastic bin, piece of wood across the top to divide it up so everything doesn't clump together. And again, that's on a mover's dolly, so I can roll that around. And I got some extra wings on there because it just keeps getting more full of stuff. And then some extra in the corner, toolboxes. Again, we built some custom shelving just to stay organized. This workbench was that's a really heavy workbench, and it's built really, really well. The way everything kind of comes in and gets bolted together. Not just lag bolts, but actually, the bolt like that, a bolt there goes through to this side piece. And then there's actually a big hole drilled here with a nut in it. So it really just clamps together, and it's not just the threads in the wood. Great design. This was actually for that long metal lathe in the basement, and I just couldn't get rid of it. And I put it up on, casters so I can roll this. Like if I'm doing upholstery or something, or I'm doing a project where I need to get all the way around the table, I can just roll the table out and work all the way around it, which is great. It's a little bit deep. Sometimes you can't reach your tools all the way in the back, but it is what it is. This is a giant 14-inch Delta Rockwell. That's a nice machine. It's got a lot of power to it. I was happy to pick that up. I found a guy that could deliver local, decent price. Had to do some repairs. There's probably 4 or 5 build videos on doing repairs on this thing, troubleshooting and inspecting it, how I took delivery, all that kind of stuff. And it has to run off of a phase converter up there. So that is the quick tour of the shop. Also, we got like all the wood. Boy, my camera's washing out horribly here. Anyway, we got a bunch of wood racks on the walls. So I didn't show you the industrial sewing machine upstairs that I use for like storm curtains, custom straps, if I leather wallets, stuff like that. And I also have a small electronics workshop up in my office/computer room. Those are just a disaster right now, so we're not gonna go up there. That's it. But yeah, building stuff and having the tools to do it will save you a ton of money, allow you to be as creative as you can imagine to be. That's the real benefit, is you can just make things that tickle your fancy and you have ideas for that you can't necessarily find commercially. And you couldn't afford to pay somebody to do all of the crazy contraptioning and inventing for you. You really got to do it yourself. So it's great to have the space and the workshop to do it. I've been blessed to have the room. I live in kind of a cheaper area, like out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not as expensive to have space out here. And I've been building the shop. I've been collecting these tools for 20 some years. So, time is really on your side when you decide to put a shop together. Just slowly accumulate what you can. Keep going. Learn to use a new machine. Figure out what you need the most. Slowly add over time, but it's a worthwhile life endeavor, I would say. All right, that's it for me. You guys enjoy. Thanks.